All right, we're going to break down the hard, dirt-under-your-fingernails archaeological evidence behind one of ancient history's most infamous political figures, Joseph Caiaphas. He was the high priest who presided over the religious trial of Jesus of Nazareth. If you've ever wondered how much of those ancient texts actually lines up with physical history.
But we aren't starting in some dusty library. We're kicking things off right in the dirt. In AD 1990, when a construction crew building a water park in Jerusalem's Peace Forest accidentally ripped open a burial cave. This place had been completely sealed for 2 millennia. No grave robbers, no modern tampering, just a pristine time capsule from the 1st century, and what archaeologists found inside ended up echoing across the entire historical world.
AD 6 to AD 18. To figure out exactly whose bones were resting in that dark cave, we've got to look at the political setup of the time. After AD 6, Roman prefects completely controlled Judea. They introduced something called the Ithacus Gladii, which basically translates to the right of the sword. This meant Rome had an absolute monopoly on capital punishment and leadership appointments. They took the sacred, lifelong role of the Jewish high priest and turned it into a highly volatile political appointment. You couldn't just inherit the job anymore, you had to play ball with Rome if you wanted to survive.
Early on, the Romans installed a guy named Annas as high priest. And even after a new Roman prefect deposed him, Annas basically ran the priesthood like an untouchable family oligarchy. He managed to pass the title down to 5 of his biological sons, and eventually to his son-in-law, a man named Joseph Caiaphas. Annas was essentially the ultimate patriarch, pulling all the strings right from the shadows.
To really grasp how chaotic this era was, just look at the turnover rate. The Roman prefect Valerius Gratus treated the priesthood like a revolving door. He burned through 3 different high priests in just 3 years. I mean, imagine trying to govern under those conditions. But then, in AD 18, Gratus hands the job to Caiaphas, and the dynamic changes drastically.
Section 2. 18 Years of Power, AD 18 to AD 36.
18. That is the number of years Caiaphas managed to hold on to this incredibly dangerous, politically contingent office. Under Roman occupation, an 18-year consecutive run was entirely unprecedented. I mean, Rome literally kept the high priest's sacred vestments locked up in a military fortress and only handed them out on holidays, just to remind the priest who was actually in charge. Surviving for nearly 2 decades in that environment meant Caiaphas was an absolute master politician.
Of course, to pull off an 18-year run, you also need serious wealth to pay the expected tributes to Rome. Excavations in Jerusalem's Herodian Upper City prove that the priestly elite lived in massive palatial mansions. We're talking estates with elaborate frescoes, huge courtyards, and multiple private ritual purification baths. The physical footprint of these ruins perfectly matches the biblical descriptions of Caiaphas's grand courtyard, which is where the Sanhedrin council met.
And we get a brilliant glimpse into his ruthless political mindset from the Gospel of John, which records Caiaphas saying, "It is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." Caiaphas wasn't some cartoon villain. He was a pure pragmatist. He genuinely feared that if local messianic movements got out of hand, the Roman legions would just march in and destroy their nation. To him, sacrificing one troublemaker was just basic political math to keep the peace.
Spanning AD 30 to 33 and ending in AD 36.
So, the crucial point is how this exact political calculus played out when a popular Galilean preacher named Jesus was brought before him somewhere around AD 30 or 33. The historical texts outline a very swift, highly calculated 3-step process. First, the patriarch Annas got the initial look at the prisoner, which makes total sense culturally given his massive shadow authority. Second, Caiaphas formally hosted a rushed, nighttime assembly of the Sanhedrin to secure a religious condemnation, and third, they handed the prisoners straight over to the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate before the massive Passover crowds could wake up and start a riot. What's really fascinating here is how flawlessly the ancient accounts align with hard Roman legal frameworks. In the biblical text, the Jewish authorities literally say, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." When you balance that against Roman law, they're talking about that ius gladi we mentioned earlier. Only Pilate had the legal authority to execute a political prisoner for treason. The ancient texts get the geopolitical administration of that specific era exactly right.
But naturally, this delicate balancing act didn't last forever. The Roman Jewish historian Flavius Josephus records that in AD 36, things finally boiled over.
A Roman legate named Lucius Vitellius swept into Jerusalem, and in a highly calculated move to calm down an angry populace, he fired both Pontius Pilate and Joseph Caiaphas. Just like that, the 18-year run was over.
Which brings us right back to the end of Caiaphas' life and that dark cave discovered by the bulldozer in AD 1990. First-century Judean elites practiced something called oaicite. Basically, when someone died, they were placed in a burial niche. A year later, once the body had naturally decomposed, family members would re-enter the tomb, gather up the dry bones, and neatly pack them into a carved limestone box called an ossuary. It was a major status symbol, ensuring the family tomb could be used for generations.
Out of 12 limestone boxes found in that Peace Forest tomb, one of them really stood out. It's known as Ossuary 6, and it was spectacularly carved with these intricate, bright orange rosette patterns. Inside, anthropologists found the commingled skeletal remains of 6 people. There were 2 infants, a child, a teenager, an adult woman, and crucially, a 60-year-old male.
Now we know this tomb was active right at the end of Caiaphas' era, in the mid-1st century. How? Because archaeologists found a bronze coin from AD 37 resting deliberately inside a skull in one of the boxes. That coin acts like a perfect timestamp. It securely anchors the tomb's final phase of active use to the exact window of time when the biblical high priest would have died.
Now, as with any major discovery, you're always going to get some rumors. Archaeologists found a couple of iron nails in the tomb, and sensationalist media documentaries immediately tried to claim these were actual crucifixion relics that Caiaphas kept as morbid amulets. Sounds like a movie plot, right? Well, archaeologists calmly stepped in and explained that tomb workings simply used common iron nails like styluses to scratch names onto the soft limestone boxes. There was no bone trauma found, just everyday ancient tools.
And speaking of names scratched onto limestone, the names on these specific boxes are exactly what makes this whole explainer so important. Scratched right into the side of the highly ornate box holding the 60-year-old man, using one of those iron nails, was this incredibly rare Aramaic inscription, Yosef bar Qayafa, Joseph, son of Qayafa. This isn't just a random name, it's the exact name recorded by the ancient historian Josephus. We have a highly wealthy burial facing the Temple Mount, featuring a 60-year-old male, bearing the exact, exceptionally rare name of the high priest.
But the evidence doesn't stop there. Let's jump forward to AD 2011. Experts authenticated another ossuary belonging to a woman named Miriam. While the box had been looted, rigorous soil analysis traced it back to a burial cave in the valley of Elah. And the inscription on this box explicitly identified Miriam as the granddaughter of Caiaphas.
This AD 2011 discovery was massive. The inscription on the Miriam ossuary epigraphically locked the Caiaphas family straight into the elite 24th priestly course of Mosiah. This proves definitively that their aristocratic status wasn't just some myth invented later on, it was an unbroken, verified reality within the Jerusalem temple hierarchy. It is basically an ancient external receipt confirming the family's power.
When you pull all of this together, the sweeping mansions of the upper city, the Roman administrative records, the intricately carved limestone boxes, and the hastily scratched names, it tells a complete story. It proves the ancient texts were reporting on a very real, very ruthless political operator who navigated the crushing weight of the Roman Empire for 18 years. It anchors the historical narratives directly into objective, verifiable reality.
We spend so much time debating ancient history like it's purely theoretical, but when a rusted iron nail in a limestone box are all it takes to bridge the gap between ancient storytelling and undeniable physical proof, suddenly, history isn't just theory anymore.
What the Fact? Follow for more.